Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Tribe Talk. We are so excited to have a very special friend and a colleague joining us today, and her name is Dr. Wendy Meyers. Dr. Wendy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
I'm super excited to have you on because, you and I over the years, we've had some really great conversations around topics that are really passionate to both of us. And you let me know recently that you're getting ready to come out with another docuseries. What is the name of the docuseries?
Yes, it's called Heavy, and it's really all about how toxins and heavy metals and chemicals are causing so many epidemics of our time, like obesity and hormone issues and digestive issues and diabetes even and dementia and just so fatigue and so many other issues. I think it's really fascinating deep dive into real underlying root causes of many health epidemics.
And I think this is so great. I knew it was on toxins, I just couldn't recall what the name of it was. This is wonderful, and this is something that I'm excited to share with our followers and our listeners because I also have a masterclass that really dives into the root causes of chronic illness. And I think it's really important for people out there to get to hear from the perspectives of other people who are experts in this type of a field because toxicity really is a real problem. In fact, last week I was talking on Inner Circle Live and really going into the science of explaining why people oftentimes end up gaining more weight even after they've lost a little bit, they gain it back plus more. And I was tying it into the toxin issue. So with that said, let's jump into this because I'm super excited to ask you so many questions today. I wanted to start with asking you to share with our audience a little bit about your background and why you got into the health field.
Yes, well, I'm like a lot of you. I got into the health field just trying to figure out what was going on with me. And I maybe about 15 years ago got pregnant and then had a baby, and just really my health went downhill after that. And after a certain point, I couldn't contribute it to like mommy brain or just postpartum or anything like that. But I just couldn't lose the weight, and I was angry and not sleeping and brain fogged and just a lot of stuff going on, tired. And I went to the doctor and I just figured out that it was toxins eventually that were the root cause of my health issues. I did these tests and I found out I was really high in mercury and arsenic. I had cesium and thallium. I had really high uranium levels.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and for me, it was a real, I had to do all this on my own. I didn't have any kind of doctor really guiding me other than telling me to replace all my hormones, my sex and thyroid hormones. And I just thought, I'm like 37, at this time. And I thought that's just not really, isn't that for women in menopause or something? Like I'm 37. So it just didn't make sense in my mind. And I started searching for answers, and I just feel really fortunate. I found out about my heavy metal load. That really, like, just a light bulb went off, and it really got me started on this passionate journey to learn and teach others about how heavy metals and toxins are really contributing to a lot of their health issues. And they spend a lot of time and energy blaming themselves, their genetics, their lack of willpower, or their doctor hands them a psychiatry card, or tells them what's in their head, because the tests that many doctors are doing aren't really cluing people into the underlying root causes of their issues. And it's really pains me, and it gets very frustrating for people, and for me to see them suffering needlessly. So I really want to educate people on how toxins are affecting them. And I thought today we could talk about hormones and how toxins affect our sex and our thyroid hormones.
And that's perfect because that's exactly the question I wanted to ask you because you started because you mentioned that they wanted to put you on hormones when you were 37, which is, pretty young. And so obviously, these toxins that you found on your labs had or played a really, really big role in your hormone imbalances. So talk to us a little bit about why so many people are having these low hormone production issues or these massive hormone imbalances that they're having these days at such young ages, even.
Yes, well, it's not surprising when we look at, we can see in the research how toxins affect our hormones specifically, and I'll get into that in a second. But when we have, it's estimated between 100 and 140,000 different chemicals, dozens of heavy metals, and there's only about maybe 40,000 or so chemicals that are actually in use, but there's 2 to 3,000 more chemicals every year coming out, totally untested. And then it's in our air, food, and water. All this stuff. The main point of entry is air pollution of these toxins into our body. Even if you're drinking filtered water, you're showering in water that has chemicals and hormones and medications in them. They don't check for those or filter them out. And it's in our food. It's in the soil in which the food is grown. And so it's a really big problem. And so, a lot of people say, oh, you have a liver and our liver filters us. But, 100 million people in the US alone have fatty liver disease. So their liver is not working very well. It's not working optimally. And this stuff accumulates over time in our brain, our fat, our bones, our glands, our tissues. And so, it just, the body stores it away if the liver can't get to it, if it doesn't have the nutrients it needs, the minerals, the vitamin C, antioxidants that it needs to kind of take care of this stuff. And so it's no surprise that, the World Health Organization has done studies that show people have on average 500 chemicals in their body. And that was done, I mean, almost 10 years ago. And
Wow.
so big, big problem. And we know in the research that there's a lot of different mechanisms by which these hormones, by which these toxins, block and interfere in hormone production, hormone conversion in many different ways.
Yeah. And so let's get a little bit more specific and talk to us a little bit about what metals specifically and what other toxins are specifically reducing the adrenal sex hormones like estrogen and testosterone, for example.
Yes. So when you're looking at heavy metals, there's metals like mercury, lead, thallium, which a lot of people haven't heard about, arsenic, there's aluminum, there's tin, there's cesium. And so these all act in different ways. But there's lots of other toxins as well. There's chemicals like organophosphates, pesticides, insecticides, herbicides. There's phthalates, which are kind of things that keep color and scent in beauty products. And they're in household cleaners as well. And then there's also stress as well, that emotional stress, emotional trauma, work, family stress that, can cause low hormone production. But as far as like the toxins, the heavy metals inhibit what are called hydroxylase enzymes. These are within the adrenal cortex and the sex organs that make our hormones. And these hydroxylase enzymes are very, very susceptible to heavy metal inhibition. So they basically go in and just interfere in these enzymatic functions. And that's how heavy metals poison our bodies. They just poison the enzymes. There's millions of them. And then also our DHEA pathway is very susceptible to toxins. So if you don't make enough DHEA, you don't make enough testosterone or estrogen. And if you don't make enough DHEA, and you don't make enough DHEA because these pathways are poisoned by heavy metals. And I can go into different examples of heavy metals, but that's kind of like an overview of how heavy metals and chemicals are interfering in our hormones. But the chemicals also will go in and kind of act like estrogens. They're called xenoestrogens, and they'll go in and kind of fill that estrogen receptor, and the body thinks that it's got lots of estrogen, and it'll down-regulate its production of estrogen because it thinks that there's, all the estrogen receptors are filled up and it has enough. And so people find that they get, kind of estrogen dominant with toxic estrogens because there's so many chemicals and pesticides and estrogenic chemicals in our body today, wherein the really good, strong estrogen, the estriol that works so well, there's much less of that. So it's just a really strange hormone havoc that's going on in our bodies today due to chemicals and toxins.
It really is. You know, we see so many people that are having big hormone imbalances. You know, we have a handful of clients right now who are exhibiting estrogen dominance secondary to the toxins and the phthalates and the BPA and these different things that are in their body. And I mean, it's just really, really interesting. And what's so sad is that a lot of the allopathic doctors, they're just not trained in this stuff. So like one of our clients, she has been making some really good progress with her health with us. And one of the things that happens 99% of the time when we're working with our clients who are chronically sick is as we're cleaning up all these barriers to healing, as we're getting them out of the body, whether it's traumas, toxins, or thoughts, whatever it is, as we're working on cleansing the body, these people naturally lose weight. Their weight comes off and they're amazed because they're not trying to lose weight. They're like, I'm eating more than I used to eat, like da 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 da. And of course, they understand they're getting very nutrient dense foods, they're eating organic, all the things. And as their body gets clean, the weight just comes off. Well, this one client we have, her weight really wasn't budging. And I had talked to her several months back about getting a hormone test that she might be estrogen dominant secondary to the toxins. Well, she hesitated because her doctor had kind of naysayed it a little bit, right? Well, eventually, 6 months, 7 months later, she's like, yeah, I want to do that hormone test now because I want to drop weight. And so we did it. And sure enough, she showed a pattern of estrogen dominance. So we went to start detoxing the estrogen, and her doctor, once again, was naysaying it and said, oh, DIM doesn't have enough research behind it, and it might not even be good to take, and all of the things. And so I had to talk with her around it and about educating her that she can make her own decisions and she has sovereignty. And I showed her studies. Oh, she also developed and this is something I want to get into next, is talking about thyroid hormones. About 2 months ago, she developed a nodule and it like pretty quickly overnight. And but she hadn't started taking the DIM because her doctor had said, oh no, don't do that, blah, 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 blah. You're not estrogen dominant, and DIM doesn't have studies behind it, which I was like, of course, rolling my eyes, right? And so, but now she has, fast forward, she's got this thyroid nodule. And so I went in and I started showing her how estrogen dominance is known to cause thyroid nodules and even thyroid cancer. She got on that DIM so fast, and she's already dropped like 25 pounds in the last like 2 months. So she's super, super happy. And so, like, for people to really understand how these toxins are so dangerous, they cause so many problems, from every chronic illness that you can think of under the sun, to mental health issues, to osteoporosis, hormone issues. And now let's talk a little bit about thyroid issues, because we have a lot of hormones in our body, but our reproductive hormones are not our only ones. Talk to us a little bit around how these environmental, chemical, and heavy metal toxins can also affect the thyroid, and which ones stand out for you when you're working with a client.
Yes, yeah. And it is really crazy when you think about how many different organ systems in the body are affected by toxins. And there's just so many. And you have to remove these. They're roadblocks to proper functioning. And just by removing them, you start to restore function slowly over time. But when it comes to the thyroid, there's a lot working against the thyroid, namely mercury, which is it's just everywhere. Lead, everyone has lead. It's absolutely impossible to not have lead in your bones and in your body. Cadmium and nickel also reduce thyroid function in a lot of different ways. And how these metals do that is by enzyme inhibition. So again, there's enzymes involved in the production of thyroglobulin, which is the storage form of thyroid hormone. They interfere in amino acid absorption. So we need tyrosine in order to make, thyroglobulin. And so you have metals like, arsenic, aluminum, tin, thallium, cesium that directly impact and negatively, impact the absorption of tyrosine in the gut. And so also iodine. A lot of people are iodine deficient. And I mean, it's just, where are you getting it if you're not eating fish or seaweed? A lot of people have dramatically reduced their fish consumption. And so, I take 50 milligrams of iodine a day. That's probably maybe too much for some people, but we need to be taking iodine. And everyone's different, the amount that they need, or titrating up very, very slowly. But even if you take iodine, it takes a lot of energy to uptake iodine. And there's a lot of heavy metals that interfere in mitochondrial energy production. So that's a whole nother problem. But even when it comes to, say, mercury, so mercury has a really high affinity for thyroid gland tissue. It loves to get into that thyroid gland, and it takes the place of iodine, which
Which
is,
one does? I'm sorry.
mercury,
Oh, the
mercury.
mercury does. Right, right.
Yeah, so it's really critical. Iodine's critical for thyroid hormone production. They're made of iodine hormones. And so that's going to be a big problem. And also if you are sensitive to mercury, say you have an autoimmune, not autoimmune, but you have an immune reaction to mercury, that mercury that's in your thyroid, that can mimic an autoimmune condition where your body's trying to attack the mercury. You can develop a sensitivity like you can a banana or a blueberry or gluten or what have you. You can become sensitive to anything, any tissue, anything that's in your body, your immune system launches a reaction to. And so mercury sensitivity can mimic autoimmune thyroid issues where it starts destroying your thyroid tissue trying to get to the mercury. And then the pituitary gland, our pituitary gland signals to the hypothalamus to make more thyroid stimulating hormone, that TSH that your doctor tests. And so mercury interferes in this delicate, hormone feedback loop, to make more T4, to make more TSH and what have you. Same with mercury depositing in the hypothalamus. So when this happens, the TSH, that thyroid stimulating hormone that tells your thyroid to make more hormones, that could be interfered with by mercury. And then also in the blood, mercury inhibits the conversion of free T4 to T3. And so the reason it does that is it poisons enzymes like deiodinasers that convert that free T4 to T3. And so this is just kind of like the tip of the bucket, or the tip of the iceberg. That's just one metal. And so there's lots of other mechanisms by which metals and toxins interfere in thyroid function. But this is one of the reasons that, your thyroid, that controls your metabolism and your weight. So, there's so many people on thyroid medication with low thyroid function. They don't know it, or with Graves' disease or something. They have, hyperthyroid. They're anxious all the time, and they just, undiagnosed having a thyroid issue. And these metals really wreak havoc on our hormones, our thyroid sex, and our stress hormones as well.
So when you mentioned hyperthyroid, what cases have you seen of people that are struggling with like Graves or hyperthyroid, where you were able to find a cause that was rooted in a chemical or a metal, and which one was it?
Yes, well, you know what? I haven't honestly treated anyone personally that has Graves. It just hasn't come across my desk yet. But most commonly mercury can induce antithyroglobulin antibodies involved in Hashimoto's, but can also induce antibodies that promote Graves' disease. And so
Right.
you can find this in the research. I don't have the research, right in front of me, but just generally in my research, that's what I found.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's a really complex one, right? Whenever people have the Graves' disease, that's a really complex one to work with. Um, I wanted to ask you also about how people can assess their toxicity levels, not just metals, but also chemicals as well. Because just like you mentioned, while metals can really inhibit a lot of these cellular processes and these hormone conversions, because they're affecting the enzyme reactions, chemicals can too. Like I talk all the time about how fluoride is it's not just a neurotoxin, but it also inhibits um, uh, the receptor site's ability to uptake selenium, right? We know which can create issues with conversion from T4 over to T3 and lead to lower T3 levels. So if somebody wanted to get a comprehensive test done so that they can look at all the chemicals and all the metals that could be at the root of a lot of their issues, what should they do? Where should they go?
Yeah, well, there's lots of great tests out there for heavy metals and chemicals. I usually start with a hair mineral analysis, what's called an HTMA. It's just very simple to do. It's very inexpensive. Pretty much anyone can do it. You don't have to deal with needles or anything, you can do it at home. But there's also great tests like urine tests, stool tests are great. There's really good blood tests. I like Quicksilver Scientific. But different metals come out in different exit points in the body. Like some come out in the urine, some come out in the stool. I like to see cadmium in the stool. A lot come out in the hair, but not all of them. Not all of them. You can't see all the metals on one single test, but you can see a lot of them on a hair test. But there's lots of new tests out there. There's a great hair mineral analysis for 500 different chemicals coming out of a lab from France, from the detoxproject.org. It's pretty expensive, but there's lots of great tests out there and more coming out all the time. But you can do chemical tests, but everyone has chemicals, so I typically don't test for them just because we all have them. It's probably more important or money better spent just buying like an infrared sauna or an ionic foot bath to, facilitate detox and just get going already. We know the toxins are there.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I mean, that's so true. And one of the things that I found over time is that even though you and I know that if they're chronically sick, they're going to have at least three high levels of some sort of chemical toxin in their body. I mean, there's about, at least from our data that we've collected, we see that over 95% of people are going to have at least three chemical toxins at really high levels. And but you know what? There's something about the patient or the client actually seeing it on their lab result that makes it more real for them and makes them take it a lot more seriously, going in and playing detective to look at their shampoos and look at their personal care products and look at what they're eating and get that water filtration system and like all of those things, right? And so, and you know what? That's really exciting. I wanted to mention to you, that's really exciting that there are more companies around the world coming out with more tests. And my hope and my goal is that, as technology continues to advance, that they will bring pricing down because I really truly do believe that we are at a time and a place in our history where they have become aware that the medical system is broken, Wendy, right? And they want to come across the bridge. They want to come over to this side and they want to do it. And some of these labs can be prohibitive with their cost. And so I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope you do too, that these companies that are coming out with this new technology will bring costs down, because the reality is that new technology does allow us to bring our costs down and streamline our processes. And so, I would love to see within the next couple of years that one of these companies takes the lead, you know what I'm saying, and really starts to bring costs down so that we can have more people doing these as a regular part of their daily, of their not just daily, but their annual lifestyle. So like we'll actually tell our clients once they've detoxed, so we'll have them test at the beginning, and then we have them test again around month 5, and then again around month 10, because we have found that using our protocols, it takes about an average of 10 months, 9 to 10 months to get all the toxins out. Most of the metals, not all, can come out that quickly, as you know. But then we used to recommend that then just for annual work, that every other year that they have their tox bundle tested. But we're seeing the toxins get so bad in the environment now that a person can get clean from all their toxins. And then a year later, they'll have 2 or 3 pop back up at really high levels. And if they're not testing for it, they're not going to know about it until they start getting sick again. And we don't want that to happen. And so to be able to have companies bring their pricing down and then be able to increase their volume would be such a godsend, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Or even just improve technology in the current tests that are out there as well. I would like that. But yeah, people do have to test on a regular basis. I mean, if you think about it, we've spent decades accumulating this stuff. And because there's thousands of chemicals, more released every year, you're going to be exposed to this stuff in the air, food, and water, no matter what you control in your environment. I mean, yes, you go organic, you're going to have people see a reduction in toxins. People I've tested that have been eating organic a long time, they don't have any glyphosate or a lot of pesticides in them. And it's shocking to me, how low their pesticide levels are, but they've been eating organic a really long time. But you're still breathing in air, you're still being exposed, and these toxins are still acting on your body in ways that, like you said, the doctor doesn't really understand. And I think they have to be really kind of aware of who they're speaking to and their skill set. I love doctors, we need doctors, we
Oh,
need medications,
absolutely.
we have infections, we have emergency, and, they're there to diagnose and usually prescribe medications or surgery, and they're very good at that. But for a chronic illness, not so good, or getting to the root cause, not so good. So, you kind of have to, just really kind of have some discernment about your health team and not leaving your health decisions to one single person, because that will get you in trouble. Usually, you should be consulting a few different people to see what your options are. And you have to go with your gut and your intuition on what you feel is right for you, especially if it's something that's not going to hurt you, like going on a detox or doing an infrared sauna. I mean, there's just, trying different things like that, or taking DIM. Like you said, there's just no downside to doing something like that. So why not try it?
Exactly. I'm in complete agreement with you, and really helping broaden their perspective on their health, their ability to heal, and getting a broader team. I like to call it our life team of those around us that we can learn from and model from. I think is more important than ever these days, because how are we going to otherwise take back control of making decisions for our own health, if we're only listening to one particular person, versus a handful of different people? It's so, so valuable for people to gain that wisdom. Um, so I have a couple more questions before we finish. Do you have some time?
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to kind of move into what are some simple tips that you recommend for people to um, incorporate detoxification into their life, and so that they can start reaping the benefits of having a cleaner vessel that helps them with their energy, that helps them with keeping their mind sharp, that helps them with their sleep, and that helps them to keep all of their systemic engines and their hormonal engines running optimally? What are some simple tips that you can share today?
Yes, yeah. So, number one, just the easiest and lowest hanging fruit is just taking minerals. We need magnesium for detoxification. Most people are deficient in magnesium, or that might be in their multivitamin, but it's not nearly enough. I take 1,000 milligrams a day of magnesium. So, you need quite a bit there. And, sometimes people aren't taking the right form. Magnesium glycinate malate is good. Getting it transdermally is nice, like in an Epsom salt bath. That gives you magnesium sulfate. So just trying to get it as many different ways as possible is nice. And just taking multi-minerals, like heavily salting your food with sea salt. I put sea salt in my water. All the drinking water, because I just feel like it doesn't hydrate me. Because if you look at our body, we're made of plasma, and we're made of minerals, and we don't just have this plain water that is, in our body. We're pretty much like seawater. And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and why a lot of people drink water and it just kind of runs right through them. And they have to feel like they have to go to the bathroom all the time, and they don't want to drink water because of that. Well, that's because you need to have salt in it really for maximum absorption, and that helps with detoxification. Because when you are replete with minerals, when you get enough minerals, those push out and displace heavy metals. And just that alone is a very, very powerful detox. And that's central to my teachings about detoxification, and many others as well, not just mine. But repleting the body with minerals solves a lot of other problems. relaxes you, you can sleep better. So just like, let's just get that out of the way first. So just the basics. And then after that, liver care, liver supportive herbs, coffee enemas are amazing, especially if you have liver issues or fatty liver. Really important. They're not terribly glamorous. People, especially guys are like, nope, nope, I'm okay. But I'm telling you, once you start doing them, people tend to get rather addicted to them and see the value in them.
Mhm.
And I love infrared saunas for just sweating. The research is out there that if you do a sauna 3 days a week, it's a 25% reduction in mortality from all causes. If you do it 5 days a week, it's a 40% reduction in mortality of all causes. Just forget
Wow.
the detox benefits. I mean, just sauna is very pleasurable. You get in there, you sweat, you're burning calories, you're losing weight, your blood pressure goes down. Like my mom got off her blood pressure medication just doing a sauna for 20 minutes a day, and so that buys you a lot of time and a lot more quality years as well. And you sweat out all those toxins as
That's
well.
amazing.
Yeah.
Which one is your favorite one? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, so there's different types that, depending on people's preferences or budget. So I really like the Therasage for the price. For comfort, I like to lay down in my sauna. So I really like the Creatrix Solutions sauna because you can lay down in it. And it's not terribly expensive either. But some people want a beautiful wooden sauna in their home, like a traditional, Swedish sauna. So I really like the what's that? It's just the wooden, like a Swedish sauna, but like I like the Sunlighten for that. But there's lots of great brands out there. Don't buy on price because that'll get you in trouble typically.
Oh, right, right. That makes sense. Yeah, we started looking into, so we have a Sunlighten.
Mhm.
It's like a little two-person. We've got that one and we really like it. We're up in the mountains. There's snow outside. It's super cold. We haven't decided which cold plunge that we want to do. So we actually have a big water trough. And it was getting a lot of ice in it. So we we're having to like break the ice up, but now we have a little element in there to keep it where it doesn't freeze. And then we just pull the element out, we jump in there, and then we go into the sunlight and sauna. And we're thinking that we want to get one of those the European ones. It looks like the Swedish ones, right? Isn't that they kind of look like a wine barrel on its side, but it's like got a 6 foot height so that you like open the door on the front. It just looks super cool. We've been looking at getting one of those. All of these biohacking tools are not just for longevity, they are also used in the healing process as well. And you're right, they really do have so many benefits. And thank you for sharing some of the statistics on the reduction in mortality rate by using the sauna. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's from a 25-year study in Finland, and that's just using a regular sauna. That's not even using like an infrared sauna, which has many, many more benefits. So there's just, the research is very, very clear. There's thousands of studies on infrared saunas, and a lot of athletes use them for, faster recovery. Just too many benefits to mention.
So many, right? So what about protocols? Because, I know there are some really good protocols out there, and I know that you have done a lot of research around the protocols that you've curated. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your favorite protocol is for detoxing the body from metals and chemicals?
Yes, well, we talk a lot about that in my heavy docuseries. You guys can learn a lot about that at theheavymovie.com. I have like 107 different experts talking about detox and talking about how to detox, talking about the health conditions caused by different heavy metals and chemicals. It's just fascinating, the experts that I had on this series and all the contribution of their wealth of knowledge. It's almost like 3,000 hours or 3,000 years of expertise over the course of everyone's, research and lifetime. But yeah, as far as like protocols, I really like ionic foot baths as well. Those are fantastic and very easy to detox. You just can do it while you're working. You can do it while you're watching TV. You don't have to have a lot of like room in your home. Like some people don't have room for a sauna. Some people can't afford a sauna. So the ionic foot bath is fantastic. Also, you can use it for children, for pets, even to detox your pets, which is really important. 1 in 1.6 dogs get cancer because they're just rolling around in the grass with glyphosate on it all the time in their food. The pet food's horrifying.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah, and so the ionic foot baths are great. I also love bioenergetic detoxification. I talk about that in the series, the heavy docu-series as well, because there's a lot of things that you can do energetically to send correct operating instructions over sound waves, essentially, or scalar waves, to send your body correct operating instructions so that it detoxes better, so that it functions better, so that you absorb nutrients better, and it just facilitates it just helps your body work better so that you can detox better. And so I talk a lot of different talk a lot about a different a lot. I talk a lot about different types of software that you can use, different types of devices that you can use, like Rife technology. You can do detoxes of every different organ system in your body with Rife. You can do parasite cleanses with Rife. You can do liver cleanses with Rife Technologies, which is just light plasma frequencies sent to your body. A lot of really interesting concepts that we talk about, very cutting edge kind of technologies that you can use to detox if you're very, very ill. Some of the traditional detox protocols aren't going to work on you. Let's say if you can't take supplements, or you're sensitive to foods, or you just can't tolerate saunas, or you just can't tolerate one more stressor on your system. What do you do? And so that's why I like to use bioenergetic means for maybe that population that we know they're so toxic, but they can't get the toxins out, and they can't mobilize them to excrete them. So you have to do kind of foundational work first. So
Mhm.
this is lots of really interesting concepts we talk about on the Heavy docu-series.
You've got you do have a lot of really amazing speakers, and I think I jumped in on this one too with you,
Yes.
didn't I? And
Yes, you
and
did.
so we've got some really fun stuff to talk about on there as well. And I think one of the many things that we discussed also had to do with trauma, thoughts, all of the, what I call the intangible things too. I think we touched on that. So that's going to be a lot of fun for our listeners to listen to the great conversation that we also got to have around that.
Yes.
I'm so excited about your docuseries. I'm so excited about what you put together, and I'm really really excited to have our clients and our followers and our fans, our listeners, come and join you for this beautiful labor of love that you put together to help educate people. Um, I wanted to close out today by just asking you, where can our listeners find you and learn more about your work?
Yes. Well, first, if you want to join the free series, it starts February 15th, 2024. You can go to theheavymovie.com, really simple. And we talk all about how toxins are causing obesity, diabetes, brain health issues, dementia, chronic fatigue and mitochondrial issues, digestive issues, how toxins cause aging. We talk all about how toxins are causing a number of different chronic health issues. And for me personally, you can go to meyersdetox.com. I'm on all the social media at meyersdetox.com as well. And I have my own podcast about detox, the Meyers Detox podcast, and lots of free content on my website as well.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And for all of our listeners, we will have a link included here with this recording so that you can register for this amazing docuseries that Wendy Meyers is coming out with. And I just want to end today by saying it's always so good to see you. I love seeing your face. I know the last time that I was in your area, we texted and I still didn't get a chance to come and see you, but I do hope to get an opportunity to physically give you lots of hugs in 2024. And thank you again for taking the time to do all of the amazing work that you do. We love you so much. And we want to help support this docuseries in every way we can. So thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm sorry, I live in Mexico and so many people come to Mexico and they're so busy on their vacation that I don't end up getting to see them. And like Dr. Pompa came down, all these, so many different, health influencers come down here and I don't get to see all of them, but I get to definitely see a few. But I'm sorry that I didn't miss you.
That's okay. That's okay. I have a feeling that we're going to get to see each other this year. So, anyways, have a beautiful day and God bless you and all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.